Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another NFL related video. Today we have grading the 2023 NFL draft class. And, well, I don't really feel like making whole graphics to do the grades and stuff, so I'm going to put them in tier lists. So, you can basically ignore the Fs and the Ds because I don't know if any of these draft class necessarily deserve an F or a D. But I think we'll see. I want to get into the first one, which is the Arizona Cardinals. They drafted Ohio State offensive tackle Paris Johnson Jr., LSU edge B.J. Ojulari, Syracuse corner Garrett Williams, Stanford wide receiver Michael Wilson, UCLA offensive guard John Gaines II, Houston quarterback Clayton Tune, Auburn linebacker Owen Pappoe, I think is how you say his name, Louisville corner Kytrell Clark, and West Virginia defensive tackle Dante Stills. Now, I'm mostly going to talk about the players that I know and stuff. I'm sorry I smacked the mic there at the side of my head. But like Paris Johnson was a really great pick for them. They ended up trading back to number 12. Then they traded back up to number 6. And I think number 3 would have been a little too early for Paris Johnson, but I think number 6, perfect for Paris Johnson right there. Ended up trading back. They got a first rounder next year from the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans first rounder, actually, and not the Cleveland Browns first rounder for some reason. I don't know why they didn't try to do that. But that's a pretty good. Then they got B.J. Ojulari, brother of Azeez Ojulari, who plays for the Cowboys. That's a really good pick in the second round. That's a steal if you ask me. Syracuse corner Garrett Williams, a pretty decent pick in the third. I believe it was the third. Stanford wide receiver Michael Wilson, I don't know much about, or John Gaines. Houston quarterback Clayton Tune, good backup quarterback there for them. Owen Pappoe, pretty decent linebacker from Auburn. And Kytrell Clark is definitely an underrated pick there in the sixth round, I think that was. I don't know. I see number 180. I can't really see the rounds. It doesn't tell me this on the little thing I have here on my phone. But the Cardinals, I'm going to give them an A. I thought this was a really good draft class. They gave them an A here on NFL.com, too. Uh, well, I'm on the app, but same thing. But I thought it was a really good class. BJ Ojulari is going to be a really good edge for them. Probably a great, I wouldn't say it's going to be a great JJ Watt replacement. I mean, no one's going to replace JJ Watt. But BJ Ojulari is going to be quite good for them as long as they can develop him and don't make the same mistake they made with Hassan Reddick. Uh, Next, we got the Atlanta Falcons. They got Texas running back Bijan Robinson, Syracuse offensive guard Matthew Bergeron, Ohio State defensive end Zach Harrison, Utah corner Clark Phillips III, Alabama safety DeMarco Helms, and South Carolina center Jovan Gwyn. Once again, another really good draft class for the Falcons here. Bijan Robinson, people are going to say that, oh, you shouldn't be drafting a running back in the first round. Well, I don't see why not. You draft a running back in the first round. Of course, if you're drafting him in the first round, he's got to be an elite player. A really not really elite, but he's got to be a really really great player if you're drafting him in the first round. And Bijan Robinson has a lot of elite qualities. I mean, think of this as kind of like, Saquon Barkley got picked at number 2 or 3, which is probably way too early for a running back. You shouldn't be picking up a running back 2 or 3, but I think number 8 overall is perfectly fine. They probably could have focused on defense, but they decided to go offense. And I know they have the one running back. I was trying to see if I can find the name here. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but who had like 1,000 yards and broke a bunch of rookie records. But in all honesty with you, he's no Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson, absolutely elite. Then they went with offensive guard Matthew Bergeron in the second round, who's going to help them. And definitely when they got Lindstrom on the other side there, it's going to be really good line for Bijan Robinson to run through. Defensive end Zach Harrison, really underrated defensive end. Corner Clark Phillips, a little undersized, but he's going to be a really good slot corner in the NFL. And I don't know DeMarco Helms or Jovan Gwyn, but to me, I'm gonna give them probably a B. I think it could go either way between A or B, maybe even an A minus. Only because I mean maybe running back at number 8 overall isn't the greatest. You probably could have traded back and still got Bijan, but who knows? Because the Lions drafted Jahmyr Gibbs at number 12 after that. They're probably lying to us and saying, "Oh, we had Jahmyr Gibbs on our radar the whole time," but they probably wanted Bijan Robinson. But I guess Who really knows? Next, we got the Baltimore Ravens. They got Boston College wide receiver Zay Flowers, Clemson linebacker Trenton Simpson, Mississippi edge Tavius Robinson, Stanford corner Kai Blue Kelly, Oregon offensive tackle, I'm going to butcher this name, Mala Sala. I'm sorry, Lalu. I'm sorry, I completely butchered that name. And USC offensive guard Andrew Voorhees. Let's start off. Boston College wide receiver Zay Flowers. That's probably going to be the best wide receiver in the first round taken this year. Speedster, definitely going to help out Lamar Jackson a lot. And he's got Odell on the other side from him. He's going to develop perfectly for the Ravens. Now they got Odell, Zay Flowers, and the Minnesota wide receiver. Clemson linebacker Trenton Simpson was an absolutely phenomenal pick in the third round. I think they got him, number 86 overall. I mean, how the hell does Trenton Simpson drop to number 86? He had first round grades. I don't think he tested very well. I could be wrong, but he's a do it all linebacker that, I think Patrick Queen was supposed to be, and he never ended up, And Patrick Queen got better when Roquan Smith came in, but he's going to be a great Patrick Queen replacement. They're probably not going to re-sign Patrick Queen. He's probably going to be a free agent after this year, and I think Trenton Simpson will fit in perfectly right next to Roquan Smith. Mississippi edge Tavius Robinson, good edge depth, as normal. Stanford corner Kai Blue Kelly, really underrated corner in my opinion. He will be I don't know if he'll be as great as who the fuck was it they just lost? I can't think of the names off the top of my head. I got so many, when I do these NFL videos, I got so many names running through my head. It's unbelievable. I didn't really know the offensive tackle from Oregon, and then USC offensive guard Andrew Voorhees. That's a steal in the 7th round. I mean, he was projected second round, and they got him in the 7th. He may have tore his ACL during the combine, but I think he's going to be a really great guard that they just stole in the 7th round from everybody. And then of course they keep getting these damn good linebackers in the fucking 2nd or 3rd round. They got the guy from Michigan last year. So I mean, fucking A. Ravens, they are going to get an A. And I'm going to put them ahead of the Cardinals. Next on the list, we got the Buffalo Bills, Utah tight end Dalton Kincaid, Florida offensive guard Osiris Torrance, Tulane linebacker Dorian Williams, Florida wide receiver Justin Shorter, Mississippi offensive guard Nick Broker, and Oregon State corner Alex Austin. Utah tight end Dalton Kincaid, arguably one of the best tight ends in the class. Arguably maybe behind Michael Mayer, but he is going to be a really, really great guy to fit in there with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and Dawson Knox and Gabe Davis. He's going to be really good for them, and I think the Cowboys might regret not possibly trading up and getting him, because the Bills traded ahead of the Cowboys and got Dalton Kincaid, and I bet you that's why the Cowboys went defensive tackle, because they wanted Dalton Kincaid. But who really knows? The Cowboys ended up getting Luke Schoonmaker later in the draft. I'll talk about him later. Osiris Torrance possibly could have fit into the late 1st round, if you ask me. Osiris Torrance is a really good guard, maybe one of the best offensive guards in the draft. Definitely going to be a really great run help for who is the running back they got now? I don't even remember. Is James Cook their guy now? Oh, they got Damian Harris. That's right. They signed him. But he's going to be a good running back for whoever's back there. Or sorry, a good offensive line guy for who's ever back there. Tulane linebacker Dorian Williams, great linebacker depth. Florida wide receiver Justin Shorter for more depth on the with the wideouts. Offensive guard Nick Broker and corner Alex Austin, two guys I don't really know too well. Bills, I think I got to give them an A. Osiris Torrance and Dalton Kincaid really stole it for me. I'm going to put them behind the Cardinals there. Carolina Panthers, they got Alabama quarterback Bryce Young, Mississippi wide receiver Jonathan Mingo, Oregon edge DJ Johnson, North Carolina State offensive guard Chandler Zavala, Florida State defensive back Jamie Robinson. This is an okay draft class for the Panthers. I mean, they ended up trading up to number 1 overall with the Bears to get Bryce Young, and wide receiver Jonathan Mingo is going to really help out. Unfortunately, that doesn't really replace DJ Moore. DJ Moore is one of the best in the league. It's not really going to do much to replace him, but definitely is going to help out Bryce Young a lot, along with Adam Thielen there with them. Oregon edge DJ Johnson, don't know too much about him. Chandler Zavala or Jamie Robinson. I know a little bit about Jamie Robinson, pretty good defensive back out of Florida State. Jonathan Mingo and Bryce Young are probably the two bright spots. Jonathan Mingo got this is the mid second round, 39th overall, early second round. So not bad for the Panthers, but I think they traded a lot to get to the number one overall pick. For that, I'm gonna end up giving them a B. I'm gonna put them in front of the Falcons if I can. There we go. I'm gonna put them in front of the Falcons just because Bryce Young's probably gonna end up being the best player in the class, but the rest of the picks kind of yet to be desired here, if that's the way you say it. But it was a pretty big, pretty decent draft for the Panthers, I'd say. But I don't know if it's enough to put them in A. Chicago Bears, they got Tennessee offensive tackle Darnell Wright, Florida defensive tackle Gervin Dexter Sr., Miami corner Tyreek Stevenson, South Carolina defensive tackle Zach Pickens, Texans running back Roschon Johnson, Cincinnati wide receiver Tyler Scott, Oregon linebacker Noah Sewell, Minnesota corner Terrell Smith, Kennesaw State defensive tackle Travis Bell, and Stanford safety Kendall Williamson. This is a damn good fucking draft class for the Bears. They needed this so much. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to be contenders next year. I think they can be. They definitely have the tools. Darnell Wright, really great offensive tackle to put next to Nate Davis and Tevin Jenkins on that offensive line. The offensive line went from pretty bad to pretty good, pretty fast. Florida defensive tackle Gervin Dexter Sr. Well, they also traded back with the Panthers. They ended up picking up DJ Moore and a first rounder next year from the Panthers. So they got 2 firsts next year now. And then they traded back again to get an extra 5th rounder with the Eagles to go back to number 10 while the Eagles went up to number 9. Florida defensive tackle Gervin Dexter Sr. arguably could have been a first round talent. I don't think he tested well. I can't really remember. But he's going to be a good defensive tackle for the Bears. Tyreek Stevenson, this is another guy that was arguably could have been in the first round, but dropped to second round, late second round, I think, number 56 overall. Another defensive tackle in Zach Pickens. Just great depth of the defensive line. Running back from Texas, Roschon Johnson. He's arguably one of the, I wouldn't say arguably, but he's a really good running back. And I think you could have got a good running back in the second round with Roschon Johnson. I think it's also because he was behind Bijan Robinson. Did I say that right? Am I an idiot? Yeah, Bijan Robinson. I don't know. Oh, I was thinking something else. Roschon Johnson is definitely could have went in the second round, but they got him in the 4th round. So that's a pretty good running back to get. Cincinnati wide receiver Tyler Scott arguably could have been a top 100 wide receiver, and Tyler Scott, and they got him at number 133. Oregon linebacker Noah Sewell. Last year, when they first started, he was projected to be a first rounder. Unfortunately, he ended up dropping all the way to the 5th round. But I think they got a steal with Noah Sewell, brother of Penei Sewell. Minnesota corner Terrell Smith, great corner depth for them, defensive tackle depth, and more defensive back depth with Kendall Williamson. With that being said, I think the Bears definitely got more than they needed, especially with the trade for DJ Moore, and they still got a lot of great talent. So I'm gonna put them. Oh, what did I do? Didn't mean to do that. I'm gonna put them in front of the Cardinals. I got a controller here that is pressing buttons on my mouse when I move it forward. But yeah, good draft for the Bears, 100%. Next, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. They got Clemson edge Myles Murphy, Michigan corner DJ Turner II, Alabama safety Jordan Battle, Purdue wide receiver Charlie Jones, Illinois running back Chase Brown, Princeton wide receiver Andre Izavas, if I said that right, Michigan punter Brad Robbins, and Miami corner DJ Ivey. So another really good draft class. Myles Murphy's going to fit in perfectly in the rotation with Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. Michigan corner DJ Turner II, really underrated corner. Don't know if he's going to be that. Fuck's his name? I can't remember the name off the top of my head. He used to play for the Cowboys. I know that, but he's no longer on the Bengals. I don't know if he's going to be a replacement for them. Alabama safety Jordan Battle is going to be a great replacement for Von Bell / Jesse Bates to put there right next to Dax Hill. That's who it was. Daxton Hill is who they drafted last year. So it's going to be a great safety duo with them two there. Jordan Battle, really underrated in my opinion. Purdue wide receiver Charlie Jones for more depth with the wideout. Same with Princeton wide receiver. Illinois running back Chase Brown, brother of Sidney Brown, who went earlier in the draft to the Eagles. Another good running back depth. Michigan punter Brad Robbins, the first, or I think he was the second punter off the board. So another good pick for the Bengals. They like to draft their kickers and punters now, apparently. And corner DJ Ivy. Great depth for them. Bengals, I'm going to put them in A as well, and I'm going to put them behind the Bills. Cleveland Browns, they got Tennessee wide receiver Cedric Tillman, Baylor defensive tackle Saika Ika, Ohio State offensive tackle DeJuan Jones, Missouri edge Isaiah McGuire, UCLA quarterback Dorian Thompson Robinson, Northwestern corner Cameron Mitchell, and Ohio State center Luke Whippler, whatever. So they didn't have a first or second rounder this year because of the trades for Deshaun Watson and Elijah Moore. But they got Tennessee wide receiver Cedric Tillman in the third round. I mean, come on. You could have argued he could have arguably went in the second, but he went in the third to the Browns, and that's a really good pick for them. Baylor defensive tackle, who was getting first round grades earlier this year as well. He went all the way, what is this, late third round, early fourth? Pick number 98. That'd have been fourth round. That's great fucking depth for defensive tackle in the fourth round. He could be arguably the starter up there with the fucking guy they signed from Minnesota. I can't remember the name. Former Giant, former Viking. Can't remember the name off the top of my head. I can think of their teams, but I can't think. I can think of the fucking player's history, but I can't think of his name. Ohio State offensive tackle DeJuan Jones. They got in the fourth, fifth round. That's a freaking steal. Are you kidding me? And he's going to be great help for Deshaun Watson and great help for Nick Chubb and getting out of there at running back. They got edge depth and Isaiah McGuire, UCLA quarterback Dorian Thompson Robinson, who is arguably has the same skill set as Deshaun Watson. I think he's going to be a great backup for Deshaun Watson, and he can come in and basically do the same thing Deshaun Watson's doing. Obviously at a lower level, he's not on Deshaun Watson's level, but if you look at the player, they're the same player, just one's a little bit better. One's a lot better actually. Northwestern corner Cameron Mitchell, great defensive back depth. Same with offensive line for Luke Whippler. And the Browns, I say I'm going to give them a B behind the Falcons there, only because of the first and second rounds not being there. Still, really great draft for the picks they had. Dallas Cowboys, they got Michigan defensive tackle Mazi Smith, Michigan tight end Luke Schoonmaker, Texas linebacker DeMarvion Overshown, San Jose State edge Vilema Fioco Jr., North Carolina offensive tackle Hasim Richards, Southern Mississippi corner Eric Scott Jr., Kansas State running back Deuce Vaughn, and South Carolina wide receiver Jalen Brooks. Michigan defensive tackle Mazi Smith. I think that might have been a little bit of a reach, and so I don't really think it was a great first round selection for Mazi Smith. They probably could have went with Michael Mayer, which I think would have been better picked than Luke Schoonmaker, but Luke Schoonmaker is still a really good player. Who they got in the second, but they got good defensive line depth with Mazi Smith and Michigan tight end Luke Schoonmaker. Great tight end there for help next to the other guys there. I can't think of the names off the top of my head. Texas linebacker DeMarvion Overshown, really good linebacker. Gonna help maybe in 2-3 years down the line could be a replacement for, what's his name? I love how I can't remember the current players on the teams. Their current linebacker. Probably not. I don't think he's gonna get to be that level, but he'll fit nicely in there with Jabril Cox and the other guy, who I can't think of the name of. Which is I could see his face, I can see his number, I just can't think of his name. I'm a fucking idiot. I know. Thank you. San Jose State, they got more D-line depth, offensive tackle depth, defensive back depth. Kansas State running back Deuce Vaughn, really underrated running back. He's like 5'9" though, which is the only issue and why he dropped so far. But he could definitely pick up right behind Tony Pollard. Also, his father is a scout for the Cowboys, and wide receiver depth and Jalen Brooks. I'm gonna give the Cowboys. I'm gonna give them a B. I'm gonna put them above the Browns and behind the Falcons though, but pretty good, decent draft for the Cowboys. I think they could have went better. I think they definitely could have got a better tight end here. I think Darnell Washington would have been a better option, but still Michigan tight end Luke Schoonmaker is still a really good tight end. Denver Broncos, they got Oklahoma wide receiver Marvin Mims Jr., Arkansas linebacker Drew Sanders, Iowa corner Riley Moss, Boise State safety J.L. Skinner, and Oregon center Alex Forsyth, who I think is the brother of Stone Forsyth. I could be wrong. He's somewhere in there. They didn't have a first or second round picks because of the Russell Wilson trade, but they did have Arkansas linebacker. They did get Arkansas linebacker Drew Sanders, and the third is him of Marvin Mims. Drew Sanders could arguably be one of the better linebackers in this class, 100%. I know I think he was getting early second round grades, if I can remember correctly. Possibly could have slipped into the first round, but it's just how linebackers are nowadays. Wide receiver Marvin Mims, a really good pick. I still feel like they got a good depth at wide receiver, so kind of a questionable pick in the second round, but they don't, or third round, they don't pick for needs anymore in the draft. So Iowa corner Riley Moss, who is believe it or not, a white corner. But he is actually a really good player. He's probably going to end up moving back to safety. I wouldn't doubt it. But he could probably play a really good safety. I haven't seen him play safety, but they also got Boise State safety J.L. Skinner, who was getting some second, third round grades early in the year, and they got him like in the fifth or sixth round. And then Oregon center Alex Forsyth, who I don't know very well. I'm gonna give them. I don't know. I kind of want to put them in a C, but Drew Sanders makes me want to put them in the lower B's there. So I'm gonna give them a lower B. Detroit Lions, they got Alabama running back Jahmyr Gibbs, Iowa linebacker Jack Campbell, Iowa tight end Sam Laporta, Alabama defensive back Brian Branch, Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker, Western Kentucky defensive tackle Broderick Martin, William and Mary offensive guard Colby Sorsdale, North Carolina wide receiver Antoine Green. It's an okay draft class. I think Jahmyr Gibbs was a little bit of a reach and number 12 overall. With especially you probably could have stayed at 3 or moved back to just 6 and drafted like Bijan Robinson or something. But they decided. But Dan Campbell, I can't argue with the man because he drafted perfect fits with his team. And Jack Campbell, him and Drew Sanders are arguably both the best defensive linebackers, best linebackers in the class. So I can't blame them for going Iowa linebacker. I just don't think they probably could have got him in the second round. Iowa tight end Sam Laporta, really great tight end. Probably might even end up being a great TJ Hawkinson replacement. He's got that TJ Hawkinson vibe to him, 100%. And he's not going to be as great as TJ Hawkinson. TJ Hawkinson he's really good, but that's a great tight end to pick up in the second round to replace him. Alabama defensive back Brian Branch, who was getting first round grades earlier in the year. He ended up going in the second round to them, so that's a really good fit for them. Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker, pretty great quarterback. He could eventually probably be the starter. He's 25 though, but we'll see what happens with him. So he's going to be 29 by the time his contract's over, but he might be a great Jared Goff replacement. Who really knows if Jared Goff? But Jared Goff played really well last year, so I can't blame him for not wanting to, for not wanting to replace him. Defensive tackle Broderick Martin, great depth on the D line. Same with offensive line depth in Colby Storesdale and wide receiver depth in Antoine Green. I'm gonna give the Lions a C, only because Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell in the first round is kind of a reach. But I love the picks of Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, and Hendon Hooker. Unfortunately, I just think that the reaching in the first round really is going to end up giving them a C. When this might all work out for them 100% because Dan Campbell, these are great fits for the team. So really, you can't argue with what he's done. Green Bay Packers. They got Iowa edge Lucas Van Ness, Oregon State tight end Luke Musgrave, Michigan State wide receiver Jaden Reed, South Dakota State tight end Tucker Kraft, Auburn defensive tackle Kobe Wooden, Penn State quarterback Sean Clifford, Virginia wide receiver Dontavian Wicks, Bowling Green defensive tackle Carl Brooks, Auburn kicker Anders Carlson, Kentucky corner Carrington Valentine, Central Michigan running back Lou Nichols III, Iowa State safety Anthony Johnson Jr., and Charlotte wide receiver Grant DuBose. This is a really, really good draft class for the Packers. I'm really happy with this. A lot of people aren't, but I'm really happy with this. Lucas Van Ness, he has the potential to be the next TJ Watt, in all honesty with you. He's definitely got the physicalities, and they definitely took a guy. He's more of a project player, but I can't blame them for taking project players here because our Super Bowl window is closed, with Aaron Rodgers being traded. That was my problem formerly with the Packers draft class. Is he always decided to go, they always decided to go with these project players who needed some time to develop and not people who could be an immediate impact on the team, which is something that really annoyed me with the Packers. But I can't blame them this year. The Super Bowl window's closed, so Lucas Van Ness is a great pick at number 13. Oregon State tight end Luke Musgrave, another great pick in the second round. He's going to be a great tight end for us. Same with Tucker Kraft in the third. Michigan State wide receiver Jaden Reed is a really good wide receiver. I mean, I would have loved someone like Jalen Hyatt or Cedric Tillman, two completely different players, by the way. And then everyone's like, oh, we got our Jalen Hyatt and Christian Watson. But what's wrong with two fast wide receivers? I don't see anything wrong. But Jaden Reed's going to be a good pick. He's going to be a great guy to have behind Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. I would still love us to sign that veteran guy for all these young people to kind of learn off of, but I guess we'll see what happens. Christian Watson definitely has the ability to become, a number one wide receiver. So I'm excited for this year. Only because I'm excited to see what happens. I don't expect us to win the Super Bowl. I could see us being 7th, 6th seed in the playoffs. We'll see what happens. We'll see what Jordan Love does. I'm excited to figure out what's going to happen this year. Great D line depth in Kobe Wooden, a backup quarterback in Sean Clifford, which people aren't happy about. Like, oh, we could have had Jalen Hall or some other guys, but it's whatever. It's a backup quarterback. He isn't drafted to be a starter, so it's not that bad. Dontavian Wicks and Grant Dubois is great wide receiver depth. Carl Brooks, more depth on the D line. Auburn kicker Anders Carlson, who is the brother of Daniel Carlson, the current Raiders kicker. Probably not as great as his brother, but I believe this was a Rich Bisaccia pick, so I can't blame. He used to coach Daniel Carlson, so he might have liked Anders Carlson. Anyway, I think it's going to be a good replacement for Mason Crosby. I think it's going to work out for him if he can have the same potential as his brother, who really knows. More defensive back depth than Carrington Valentine, running back depth than Lou Nichols III, and Anthony Johnson Jr. with more defensive back depth. For the Packers, I got to give us an A, man. Where do I put us here, though? I'd put us ahead of the Cardinals there, and maybe it might be a little bit of Packers bias, but I'm more happy with this draft class than I have been in any former Packers draft class ever. So I'm quite happy with this. Maybe I'll go behind the Bills. I really like the Cardinals. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll put the Cardinals back here. I think I like this. I think the Bills had a decent draft class. I think it might have been better than the Packers, but the two tight ends kind of make me want to put it over. Maybe I will have it like that. I think I kind of want to put the Bengals in front of the Cardinals as well. Uh, but I think we're good there. Houston Texans, they got Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud, Alabama edge Will Anderson Jr., Penn State center Juice Scruggs, Ohio State wide receiver Tank Dell, TCU edge Dylan Horton, Alabama linebacker Henry To'oTo'o, Notre Dame offensive guard Jarrett Patterson, Iowa State wide receiver Xavier Hutchinson, and Pittsburgh safety Brandon Hill. So this is a really good draft class for the Texans as well. Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud. People thought they weren't going to go quarterback. They decided to stick with it and go with C.J. Stroud. Great pick. They traded up from number 12 to number 3 to draft Will Anderson Jr., which they really gave a lot. So this is what's kind of making me like, should I put them in A or B? We'll find out here. Offensive line depth, Juice Scruggs. Don't know much about him, but Tank Dell is a really good wide receiver out of Houston. TCU edge Dylan Horton. Good, defensive line depth. Alabama linebacker Henry To'oTo'o. Really great linebacker there. Can't blame them for going that. Offensive guard Jarrett Patterson in like the 6th is an absolute steal. Jarrett Patterson is going to be a good guard or maybe even center for them one day. Wide receiver Xavier Hutchinson in the 7th, or that's also the 6th, yeah. Another great pick in the 6th round, and safety Brandon Hill. I'm going to end up giving them a B, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be. I'll put it behind the Panthers, only because of the trade with Will Anderson. I think they gave up a lot to go up and draft an edge. A quarterback I can understand, but an edge, I don't know about that one. But they wanted those two guys, and they made it happen to go get them. So Indianapolis Colts, they got Florida quarterback Anthony Richardson, Kansas State defensive back Julius Brents, North Carolina wide receiver Josh Downs, BYU offensive tackle Blake Freeland, Northwestern defensive tackle Atabarwe. I can't remember. I don't know how to say his first name, so I just said his last name. South Carolina corner Darius Rush, Cal safety Daniel Scott, Miami tight end Will Mallory, Northwestern running back Evan Hall, Wagner edge Titus Leo, Texas A&M corner Jalen Jones, and Northern Michigan offensive tackle Jake Witt. Anthony Richardson, man, we'll find out if he's going to be. Oh, what did I do here? I accidentally opened freaking Microsoft Edge. Florida quarterback Anthony Richardson. We'll see what happens with him. He's going to be playing behind Gardner Minshew, which isn't like probably the best quarterback to have him behind. But I'm sure Gardner Minshew's going to start. And I think Anthony Richardson has the ability to be a really great quarterback. So we'll see what happens with him. Kansas State defensive back Julius Brenson II. Really great pick for them. He's probably going to play corner for them. So North Carolina wide receiver Josh Downs, the steal in the third round. That guy had first round potential 100%, and he ended up going in the third round. BYU offensive tackle Blake Freeland, another great pick for them in the fourth round. Same with Atabarwe, Northwestern defensive tackle. I think health ended up dropping him. He probably could have even went in the first. He had another guy who at some point had a first round grade on him. So he's going to be great for them. Had tested amazingly in the combine. I hit my head on the mic. I apologize. Darius Rush, good defensive back depth along with Daniel Scott. Tight end Will Mallory, another good decent pick. Northwestern running back Evan Hall. Titus Leo. Jalen Jones, underrated defensive back pick there in the 7th round, in my opinion. Jake Witt, another more great offensive line depth for them. I think I got to give them an A here. I think I'm going to put them just ahead of the Bears. I really like the Ravens draft class, so they're going to stay up in front of everybody there. Jacksonville Jaguars, they got Oklahoma offensive tackle Antoine Harrison, Penn State tight end Brenton Strange, Auburn running back Tank Bigsby, Florida linebacker Ventrell Miller, Oklahoma State defensive end Tyler Lacey, Louisville linebacker Yasir Abdullah, Texas A&M safety Antonio Johnson, Penn State wide receiver Parker Washington, Rutgers corner Christian Braswell, Pittsburgh safety Eric Hallett, App State offensive guard Cooper Hodges, North Carolina defensive tackle Raymond Vohasek, Houston fullback Derek Parrish. Antoine Harrison, definitely not as on par offensive tackle as the rest of the offensive tackles in this class, or first round offensive tackles. Probably could have ended up going in the second. But I can't say I blame them for going offensive tackle with Cam Robinson getting suspended and needing more help for Trevor Lawrence. Penn State tight end Brenton Strange, really another decent pick for them. Auburn running back Tank Bigsby, that's a good pick for them to have behind what's his name? Clemson running back. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Linebacker Ventrell Miller, great. I don't know much about Ventrell Miller. Tyler Lacey or Yasir Abdullah. Safety Antonio Johnson I think is going to be a steal in I want to say the 4th round, 5th round there. Penn State wide receiver Parker Washington, more wide receiver depth. Defensive back depth in Christian Braswell and Eric Hallett. Offensive line depth of Cooper Hodges. Defensive line depth in Raymond Vohasek. And your casual, every so often, fullback and Derek Parrish being selected. I'm going to give the Jaguars, I'm going to give them a B. I'm going to put them I'll put them in front of the Cowboys. I like their draft class, but I don't think it's as great as everybody else's here. Kansas City Chiefs, they got edge Felix and Anundika Uzama, SMU wide receiver Rashee Rice, Oklahoma offensive tackle Wanya Morris, Virginia Tech defensive back Chamari Connor, Stephen F. Austin edge B.J. Thompson, Texas defensive tackle Keandre Coburn, Ball State corner Nick Jones. Decent draft class for them. Felix Anundika Uzama is going to be a great edge to great replacement for Frank Clark. SMU wide receiver Rashee Rice going to be the replacement, I'm assuming, for Juju Smith-Schuster, who's now gone. And they also don't have Mecole Hardman. I can't remember their entire depth. It's like Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Sky Moore, Justin Ross, Kadarius Toney. They still got a decent wide receiver room. I think Kadarius Toney is really going to break out this year and be that number 1 wide receiver that we all know he can be. SMU wide receiver Rashee Rice is a great pick, though. Oklahoma offensive tackle Wanya Morris. They need offensive tackle. He's probably going to, honestly, because they lost Orlando Brown and they also lost Andrew Wiley, and now they got what's his name there? I can't think of who it is. Maybe was Cam Robinson the one? Did he leave the Jaguars and go to the Chiefs? I can't exactly remember. I thought he was the one that got suspended, but I could be wrong. Let me check. No, Cam Robinson is still the offensive tackle for the fucking I'm losing my thing. Jawan Taylor was who they signed. That's right. I couldn't think of who it was. Jawan Taylor's who they signed, and then they got Wanya Morris, who's probably going to fit on the other side. I wouldn't doubt they're going to start him. It's just what the Chiefs do. They draft late round offensive tackles, defensive backs, and they end up being great players. Virginia Tech defensive back Jamari Connor, good depth at defensive back. Edge B.J. Thompson, and D-line depth and Keandre Coburn as well with defensive back depth and Nick Jones. I'm going to give the Chiefs, I'm going to give them a B. I'm going to put them, I'll put, I don't know if I want to put them in front of the Falcons. Maybe I'll put them in front of the Falcons for now. I like their draft class. I just think they had a way better one last year, 100%, but it's an all right draft class. Raiders, Texas Tech edge Tyree Wilson, Notre Dame tight end Michael Mayer, Alabama defensive tackle Byron Young, Cincinnati wide receiver Trey Tucker, Maryland defensive back Jacorian Bennett, Purdue quarterback Aiden O'Connell, Georgia safety Christopher Smith II, Florida linebacker Amari Burney, Arizona State defensive tackle Nesta Jade Savara. This is an all right draft class for the Raiders. Texas Tech edge Tyree Wilson's going to be really good for them. He's going to be a great fit behind Max Crosby, or on the different side of Max Crosby. Same with Chandler Jones still there as well. Notre Dame tight end Michael Mayer was actually a great selection, a great replacement for Darren Waller after they traded him to the Giants. They probably got the best tight end in the class here in the second round. Byron Young, a great defensive tackle to get in the third round. Cincinnati wide receiver Trey Tucker, that's okay. I think the other Cincinnati wide receiver was better, Tyler Scott, but I guess they like Trey Tucker. Maryland defensive back Jacorian Bennett, more depth for them. Purdue quarterback Aiden O'Connell, definitely a pretty decent quarterback. And Aiden O'Connell going to be great going to be a great backup quarterback behind Jimmy Garoppolo. Georgia safety Christopher Smith II, Florida linebacker Amari Borne, and defensive tackle Nesta Jade Zavora. Great depth for them there. I'm gonna give the Raiders. I'm gonna give them a B. I think I might put them in front of the Texans just because I like the pick on Michael Mayer in the second, but I don't think they're. I still think Bryce Young is just a good pick for them for the Panthers to move him out of that high B. He's gonna end up being probably the better probably the best player in the class, in all honesty with you. Chargers, TC wide receiver Quentin Johnston, USC linebacker Tuli Topolotu, Washington State linebacker Deion Henley, UTC wide receiver Darius Davis, Clemson offensive tackle Jordan McFadden, Boise State defensive tackle Scott Matlock, TCU quarterback Max Duggan. This is definitely an okay draft class. I don't know if it was very best. Wide receiver Quentin Johnston, he's going to be a great fit for them. Actually, I don't even know if he's going to be a great fit for them. I just kind of feel like they should have went with more of a slot speedster, kind of like a Zay Flowers there, and they decided to go Quentin Johnston instead. I think Zay Flowers would have been a better fit for them, but they decided to go Johnston. Linebacker Tuli Topolotu, I know a little bit about. He's an all right linebacker, same with Deion Henley. TC wide receiver Darius Davis, I don't know much about him. Jordan McFadden's a good pick for the offensive tackle there in the 5th round. Scott Matlock and TCU quarterback Max Duggan. Max Duggan's going to be great for a backup quarterback, in the competition with Easton Stick, which I think he'll end up beating out Easton Stick pretty easily. But I like the Max Duggan pick there in the 7th round. Chargers, I gotta feel like I'm going to give them a C. I just don't think their draft class was as great as other people's were, and I think I'm going to fit them right there in the C. Probably could fit into the upper B. I think they're ahead of the Lions, though, in the C range there. I just don't think theirs is as great as the other picks. I think they got great depth in the back of the draft, but I think those first couple, Zay Flowers on the board, and you went Quentin Johnston. To me, I don't really understand it, but whatever. Los Angeles Rams, they got TCU guard Steve Avila, Tennessee edge Byron Young, Wake Forest defensive tackle Kobe Turner, Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett, Appalachian State linebacker Nick Hampton, Georgia offensive tackle Warren McClendon Jr., Clemson tight end Davis Allen, BYU wide receiver Puka, I don't know how to say his last name, TCU corner Travius Hodge Tomlinson, Nebraska edge Oshone Mathis, Mississippi running back Zach Evans, Wingate punter Ethan Evans, Oklahoma State safety Jason Taylor II, Toledo defensive tackle Deshaun Johnson. TCU offensive guard Steve Avila was a great pick in the 2nd round. Probably the best center, the best interior offensive lineman in this draft. Uh, Tennessee edge Byron Young was a great pick there in the third round, I think that was. Wake Forest defensive tackle Corey Turner, another good pick there behind uh, Aaron Donald, Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett. They got two Georgia quarterbacks in there now. Stetson Bennett will be probably, I don't know if he will exactly be the replacement for Matthew Stafford. And I mean, he doesn't really have a whole lot of elite qualities. That's 100%, but he's an amazing leader. He's going to be a great backup quarterback for the Rams. App State linebacker Nick Hampton, and everyone told me that Stetson Bennett wasn't going to get drafted. And he was going to go undrafted, but that's funny now. Guy went in the fourth round. Warren McClendon Jr., offensive line depth, tight end Davis Allen. Corner Travius Hodge Tomlinson was a great pick in like the fifth round, I think that is. Uh, he's the nephew of LaDainian Tomlinson, and I think he's going to be a great corner for the Rams. Nebraska edge Ocean Mathis, running back Zach Evans, a punter they got there Ethan Evans, safety Jason Taylor II, and the final Mr. Irrelevant Doshawn Johnson. Probably not going to put up the same impact as Brock Purdy, but time will tell. But for the Rams, I think I went into the wrong. I don't know what this is. I accidentally clicked whatever the hell that was. I don't know. I think for the Rams, I think I could easily fit them into back of the A, but I don't know if I'm going to do that. They gave him an A on here. I think I know I'll fit them into the back of A, only because they got some really good picks in the later rounds, and even without a first round pick, that this one was still off the Matthew Stafford trade. The Lions still had their first round pick, so I still think this is a really good draft class for the Rams. Miami Dolphins, they got South Carolina corner Cam Smith, Texas A&M running back Devon Aiken, Stanford tight end Elijah Higgins, and Michigan offensive tackle Ryan Hayes. They didn't have a whole lot of picks, man. And corner Cam Smith in the second round or second, I think that could be early third. That's not. I think that's late second. I could be wrong. I don't remember. And Texas A&M running back Devon Aiken, two great picks, and I think that's going to really work out for them. They ended up not having a first round pick because they ended up losing one because of the whole scandal thing going on, and then they traded one away to the Broncos for what's his name? Can't remember his name. Bradley Chubb. There it is. But this was a pretty good picks. These are pretty good two picks for them in Cam Smith and Devon Aiken. But I think I'm going to fit them into the C's here just because of it wasn't a very big draft class and there's not much to go off. But I think Cam Smith and Devon Aiken are very good picks. But I think I'm going to throw the Dolphins in there at C. Minnesota Vikings, USC wide receiver Jordan Addison, USC defensive back Mekhi Blackman, LSU defensive back Jay Ward, LSU defensive tackle Jacqueline Roy, BYU quarterback Jaron Hall, and UAB running back Dwayne McBride. Jordan Addison was an absolute steal for the Vikings there in the first round. Not with everyone else going Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnston, and the one that the Seagulls went Jackson Najigba. I think Jordan Addison will be the second best. I think Najigba is still going to be one of the first best in this wide receiver class. Jordan Addison was a great pick, and he's going to fit in perfectly. Great Adam Thielen replacement. He's going to be that slot guy that they desperately needed. Adam Thielen's gone. Defensive back Mekhi Blackman. I don't know much about him. They got him in the third. Jay Ward. Don't know much about him. Jacqueline Roy is going to be a great pick. They got him in like the fourth round, I think, along with Jay Ward. Jalen Hall in the fifth round. That's a pretty good backup quarterback to have. And Dwayne McBride, pretty decent. Jordan Addison alone. Same with Jacqueline Roy. I think I'm going to give them a late A, just because I think Jordan Addison was such an amazing pick for the Vikings, and I think they're going to fit right back into the NFC North and probably win it again this year. Who really knows? New England Patriots, they got Oregon corner Christian Gonzalez, Georgia Tech defensive end Keon White, Sacramento State linebacker Marte Mapu, Troy center Jake Andrews, Maryland kicker Chad Ryland, Eastern Michigan offensive guard City So, UCLA offensive guard Antonio Mafi, LSU wide receiver Keyshawn Boutte, Michigan State punter Bryce Baringer, Liberty wide receiver Demario Douglas, Michigan State corner Amir Speed, and Jackson State corner Isaiah Bolden. Christian Gonzalez was an absolute steal at number 17. He shouldn't be available at number 17. I think the Lions probably could have went with him at number 12 or whatever the hell they had. I think that would have been a great pick for them. And then Emmanuel Forbes, Commanders ended up taking Emmanuel Forbes over Christian Gonzalez as well, which questionable move, but they did it anyway. But Christian Gonzalez, absolute steal for the Patriots. Keon White, another absolute steal for the Patriots in the second round. They were talks of him going in the first round as well, Marte Mop, who I don't know anything about. I don't know much about Sacramento State, man. But Bill Belichick for you. Jake Andrews, offensive line depth. Chad Ryland, a replacement kicker. City Stowe is a great pick in the third, fourth round there for them. UCLA offensive guard Antonio Mafi, more offensive line depth. LSU wide receiver Keishawn Butte, absolute steal in the fifth round, sixth round, fifth round, whatever it is. Uh, Great pick for them there. I mean, he was getting first round grades earlier last year, and then he probably would have been better off going back to LSU, but he decided to enter the draft, and now he's a New England Patriot. Punter Bryce Barnes, the first punter off the board. Liberty wide receiver Demario Douglas, and defensive back depth in Amir Speed and Isaiah Bolden. Patriots, they're getting an A, man. It's hard to not. I'm going to put them right in front of the Packers. I'm going to put them in front of the. Fuck it, I'm going to put them behind the Ravens. I mean, that's just that's just an incredible draft class that the Patriots got. Christian Gonzalez at number 17. That's probably the best corner in the class. I mean, good lord, that's unbelievable. New Orleans Saints, they got Clemson defensive tackle Brian Brzee, Notre Dame edge Isaiah Foskey, TC running back Kendre Miller, Old Dominion offensive guard Nick Saldivari, Fresno State quarterback Jake Haener, Minnesota safety Jordan Howden, Wake Forest wide receiver A.T. Perry, Clemson State defensive tackle Brian Brzee. He only dropped because of injury concerns, so he still went in the first round to the Saints, so it's a pretty decent pick. I mean, they probably could have got someone better, but they decided to go Brian Brzee, but they needed help in the D line, so can't blame them. Same with Isaiah Foskey, another edge. They needed that replacement ever since what's his name left to the Bengals. So Hendrickson. So Isaiah Foskey's that's a great pick for them in the second round. Kendre Miller, good running back in a third there. I don't know much about Nick Soldivari, whatever the hell his name is. Jake Haener, that's a great backup quarterback behind that they're going to have behind Derek Carr. Jordan Howden is a great safety, and A.T. Perry in the seventh round, that's like a fifth round actually. 195, that's fifth, sixth round. A.T. Perry was an absolute steal. I'm going to give them, I think they're going to get a B here. I'm going to put them behind the Texans. I want to put them behind the Chiefs, maybe even behind the Falcons. I think there's good for them. I think it's a great spot for them. New York Giants, they got Maryland corner Deonte Banks, Minnesota safety John Michael Schmitz, Tennessee wide receiver Jalen Hyatt, Oklahoma running back Eric Gray, Old Dominion defensive back Trey Hawkins III, Oregon defensive tackle Jordan Riley, and Houston safety Javarius Owens. Deonte Banks, absolute steal. He's also better than the Washington corner that they got. John Michael Schmitz, absolute steal in the second round. Jalen Hyatt, an absolute steal in the third round. Jalen Hyatt could have arguably went in the first round. I mean, that was an absolute steal for the Giants in the third round. Eric Gray was a great pick in the fourth, and everyone else for the depth of defensive back and the defensive line. And I got to give it to the Giants, man. This is a great draft. Deonte Banks was an amazing selection. John Michael Schmitz, amazing selection. Jalen Hyatt, amazing selection. Eric Gray, amazing selection. I got to give them an A. I'll probably put them behind the Bears. But that's a great, great draft for the Giants. The Jets, they got Iowa State edge Will McDonald IV, Wisconsin State center Joe Tippmann, Pittsburgh offensive tackle Carter Warren, Pittsburgh running back Israel, I'm not going to say his last name, Western Michigan linebacker Zaire Barnes, LSU corner Jarek Bernard Converse, Old Dominion tight end Zach Kuntz. Will McDonald IV, kind of a reach in the first round there. I think they could have got him. They probably could have traded back, got him in the late first and maybe early second. But still, he's going to be a great edge for the Jets. I really like the player as well. Wisconsin center Joe Tippmann, another great player to get in the second round there. Offensive tackle Carter Warren, don't know much about him, or the Pittsburgh running back Zaire Barnes, linebacker depth. Zach Kuntz, absolute steal in the sixth round, I think that was. Maybe even the seventh. I can't really. I know that wasn't. That's got to be late sixth round. Zach Kuntz is going to be a decent tight end from Old Dominion. I like this draft class. I think it's going to get a B though, and I'm going to end up putting them. I'm going to put them behind the Jaguars. The Jets had a decent draft class. I just think Will McDonald was a little bit of a reach. Philadelphia Eagles, they got Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter, Georgia edge Nolan Smith, Alabama offensive guard Tyler Steen, Illinois defensive back Sidney Brown, Georgia corner Keely Ringo, Stanford quarterback Tanner McKee, and Texas defensive tackle Maro Ojomo. They got a steal in Jalen Carter at number 9. Could have went to the Falcons at number 8. Could have went to the Bears if they stayed at number 9. They traded up with the Bears and made sure they got their guy. Nolan Smith, an absolute freaking steal in the second or in the at number 30. The fact that Nolan Smith dropped that far and the fact that he dropped to the fucking Eagles, you got to be kidding me, man. Uh, Alabama offensive guard Tyler Steen, a great guard to get in the second round. Same with Sidney Brown, or this is the early third. Tyler Steen and Sidney Brown, fucking great picks in the third round. Sidney Brown's going to be a great Marcus Epps replacement. Kelee Ringo is an absolute steal in the fourth. I don't know why we're letting these great players fall to the Eagles. Shit's pissing me off, man. Stanford quarterback Tanner McKee is going to be great backup behind Jalen Hurts and defensive line depths Amaro Ojomo. This is the best. This is the best fucking draft class in the class, man. The best. I can't even believe it. There's enough said, man. Pittsburgh Steelers, they got Georgia offensive tackle Broderick Jones, Penn State corner Joey Porter Jr., Wisconsin defensive tackle Keanu Benton, Georgia tight end Darnell Washington, Wisconsin edge Nate Herbig, Purdue corner Corey Trice Jr., Maryland offensive tackle Spencer Anderson. Broderick Jones, they traded ahead of the Jets and got him. Arguably, top 3 offensive tackle in this class. Penn State corner Joey Porter, another one of the top 5 corners in this class. Wisconsin defensive tackle Keanu Benton. That's a great pick in the second round there as well. Georgia tight end Darnell Washington was an absolute steal in the third round, or third, fourth round, whatever it was. Wisconsin edge Nate Herbig, another absolute steal from the Steelers. Purdue corner Corey Trice Jr. was a great pick in the 6th round. And Spencer Anderson in the 7th. That's another damn good draft class right there. I think that is even better than the Ravens, man. I can't even argue with the Steelers, man. That's a really damn good draft class. I love that draft class, especially because Darnell Washington was my favorite tight end in the class. So probably one of my favorite players, in all honesty with you. San Francisco 49ers, they had Penn State safety Jair Brown, Michigan kicker Jake Moody, Alabama tight end Cameron Latu, South Alabama corner Darrell Luter Jr., Georgia edge Robert Beadle Jr., TCU linebacker D. Winters, Oklahoma tight end Braden Willis, Michigan wide receiver Wani Bell, and Purdue linebacker Jalen Graham. Penn State safety Jair Brown, good pick for them in the 3rd. Kicker Jake Moody. I don't know if I'd draft a kicker in the 3rd round, but Jake Moody, probably one of the best kickers in college football. He doesn't miss, so honestly, maybe I can't even argue them taking him in the 3rd round. That's a great kicker right there. Alabama tight end Cameron Latu. That's a really good pick there in the 4th, early 4th. South Alabama corner Darrell Luter Jr. Another decent pick there. Edge Robert Beal Jr. Don't know much about him. Same with D. Winters. Braden Willis is there as well. Ronnie Bell was a great wide receiver to take in the 7th round, so I can't blame them for going there. And linebacker Jalen Graham for going there. I think because I gave the Chargers a C, I think I got to give the Niners a C as well. And it's probably only because they didn't really have a 1st or 2nd round pick. They got some good picks where they were, but I just don't think it was, anything close to whatever these guys went with. But the Niners, they really didn't need these draft picks. They got a great team already. So, it's going to be another great year for the Niners, man. Seattle Seahawks, they got Illinois corner Devin Witherspoon, Ohio State wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba, Auburn edge Derek Hall, UCLA running back Zach Charbonnet, LSU offensive guard Anthony Bradford, Mississippi State defensive tackle Cameron Young, Michigan defensive end Mike Morris, Michigan center Olu Oluwatima, I don't know how to say his name, I'm sorry, New Mexico safety Jarek Reed II, and Georgia running back Kenny McIntosh. This is a great draft class. Devin Witherspoon at number 5, the best corner in the class, probably behind Christian Gonzalez or up there with Christian Gonzalez. Ohio State wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba, absolute steal at 20, probably going to be the best wide receiver in the class. Auburn edge and Derek Hall is a really good pick in the 2nd. UCLA running back Zach Charbonnet in the early 3rd, maybe late 2nd. I can't really remember. That's gonna be a great pick behind. What's his name? The current running back they got now. You know me, I can't think of names for the shit. Anthony Bradford, good offensive line depth. Cameron Young is a great defensive tackle to get there in the 4th round. Mike Morris and all these other picks, decent picks for them. I'm gonna give them a late A here. I think I'm gonna put them behind the Vikings. I'm gonna put the Cardinals in the back here. I like the Cardinals draft class. I just think these ones are all better better A's. This is probably like an A minus range here. You know, you get what I'm saying here. Probably like from the Packers and on, it's like an A minus range. But we got three more to get through. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they got Pittsburgh defensive tackle Kalaji Kansi, North Dakota State offensive guard Cody Mock, Louisville edge Yaya Diaby, Pittsburgh linebacker Servokia Dennis, Purdue tight end Payne Durham, Kansas State defensive back Josh Hayes, Nebraska wide receiver Trey Palmer, and Eastern Michigan edge Jose Ramirez. Kalaji Kansi might have been a little bit of a reach in the first round there, but really good defensive tackle. Probably could have went in the late 20s though. Probably could have traded back and still got him. Offensive guard Cody Mock, that's a great pick in the second round. North Dakota State's guy. I've been watching him for a while. I'm a North Dakota State fan, so you know I know my guys there. But happy he went in the second round there. Louisville edge Yaya Diaby. Don't know much about him. Payne Durham, tight end from Purdue, decent tight end there. I like this draft class. I don't know if I want to give them an A though. I think they gave them an A here. I think Kalaji Kansi might have been a little bit of a reach, but still a really good pick. Offensive guard Cody Mock was a great pick in the second round, so kind of makes me want to give them a lower A, but I think I'm going to give them an upper B. I'm going to put them right in front of the Panthers. I'm maybe even behind. I'll put them behind the Panthers. I think the Bryce Young is just drafting the best, probably going to be the best quarterback, or not best quarterback, best player in this draft is going to get you up there with the high B there, if you even get in a B. Tennessee Titans, they got Northwestern offensive tackle Peter Skoronski, Kentucky quarterback Will Levis, Tulane running back Tyjae Spears, Cincinnati tight end Josh Wiley, Maryland offensive tackle Jalen Duncan, and Tennessee Martin wide receiver Colton Dowell. Peter Skoronski was a great pick at number 11. Whether you have him at guard or tackle is still a good pick. Will Levis was probably a steal in the second round, if you want to call it that. I know a lot of you aren't high on Will Levis, but he's got the ability to be a great quarterback and sitting behind Ryan Tannehill might even help him out a little bit. But you can even say that, at Kentucky, he didn't really have a great team. So, you can't blame the Titans for wanting to give him a chance there. Tulane running back Tyjae Spears was a great pick in the third. Tight end Josh Wiley, great pick in the fourth, fifth round. Jalen Duncan was a great pick in the fifth, sixth round. And that's a fifth round there. Colton Dowell, don't know much about him, but I know much about everyone else there. And I think I got to give the Titans a late A. I really like this draft class, so I'm gonna put them in there with in front of the Cardinals and the Rams and behind the Seahawks. You know, I can't even. I don't know why I have the Seahawks that low. I got to put them up a lot more. Maybe, maybe behind the Bears. I like the Seahawks picks a lot. Now that I'm thinking about drafting the best corner and best wide receiver in the class, got to get you up there. Maybe even fucking. I'm gonna put them in front of the Colts. That's a really great draft class. Maybe in front of the Patriots. No, not in front of the Patriots. I really like Christian Gonzalez at number 17. And our final team, Washington Commanders, they got Mississippi State corner Emmanuel Forbes, Illinois defensive back Jartavius Martin, Arkansas center Ricky Stromberg, Utah offensive tackle Braden Daniels, Clemson edge KJ Henry, Kentucky running back Chris Rodriguez Jr., and Louisiana edge Andre Jones Jr. I think Emmanuel Forbes is a little bit of a reach here at number 16, especially with Christian Gonzalez still on the board. But I think he's still going to be a great corner. I like the player, but we'll see what happens with him. Illinois defensive back Jartavius Martin. I don't know much about Jartavius Martin. Arkansas center Ricky Stromberg. That's a great center to get in the third round. I can't argue with that. That one. Utah offensive tackle Braden Daniels. Another great selection in the fourth round there. Clemson edge KJ Henry. Don't know much about him. Chris Rodriguez Jr. Don't know much about him. Same with Andre Jones Jr. But I really like the pick of Ricky Stromberg in the third, and I think Emmanuel Forbes is going to be a great player. I just don't know if it was kind of a reach in the first round. I think I could give them a late B. I could probably even fit them into the high C there. I think that's where I'm going to go. I just think Emmanuel Forbes is such a reach. I don't know much about Jartavius Martin to put him up anywhere. This is all based off the players I know. I know a lot of the players in this draft, but I don't know everybody. So like someone like the Seahawks, they had a lot of people that I knew, and same with the Patriots, had a lot of people that I knew. Same with the Buccaneers, had a lot of people that I knew, and so it's kind of like there. And I don't know much about Emmanuel. I know a lot about Emmanuel Forbes. Sorry, I don't know much about Chartavius Martin to really know much. Ricky Stromberg was a great center in the third round. Same with Braden Daniels in the fourth. But I don't know much about the other players. But this is where I'm going to have it. I just felt like A lot of people only had Lions and C, and I just feel like, I don't really know about that, especially with the amount of picks the Dolphins had. The Chargers can arguably go higher. Same with the Commanders and Niners. I'm just setting them down here just because of probably the reach that they made in the first round there with Emmanuel Forbes. I think they could have traded back and gotten Emmanuel Forbes there as well. But that is going to be my tier list for the 2023 NFL draft class. I like all the draft class. I think they're really good, but I had to fit some people in C. I probably could even put people in F. That's not true. I don't think anyone had an F or D rating. I didn't have an S rating because I didn't want to do that. I'll do it with the other future tier list that I do. But this is the tier list for the NFL draft class. This is the grades I gave them. There are no A minuses or anything, but B's, A's, C's, D's, F's. I probably could put A minus and B plus and B minus in here as well, but I decided not to do that. But that's going to do it for this video, though. If you guys did enjoy, please drop a like. That'd be greatly appreciated. I feel like this was a better talking video than my other ones. I tried to slow down my speech a lot more and to get my words across, and I still messed up because I've been talking for an hour straight. So can you blame me? No, I thought about taking a break like 30 minutes through, but I decided to film the whole thing in one shoot here. So if you guys did enjoy, please drop a like. That'd be greatly appreciated. If you're new here, please subscribe. Uh, yeah, I do more NFL content, WWE and AEW content, and other video game content. Will start with Jedi Survivor tomorrow, so I'll see you guys for that. And social media is in the description below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you for tuning in.